everybody, and welcome to What's Groovin'? I'm your host, Disorderly Cone, and this is the Neat-O-Matic. It's going to show you all kinds of cool projects that are available right now and also coming out in the future. Let's go ahead and start off with our first one we're looking at, Metal Earth. Now, as we can see here, these are all of our brand new models that are available, and there's actually quite a couple of them that I want to take a closer look at. The first one here is the Spider-Man model. Now, the Spider-Man model is definitely an interesting one. Being a figure, we know this is going to be a little bit more complicated than our normal Metal Earth model, but if we look a little closer here, we can see a little bit of a forbidden foot. This is a very dangerous piece, and I expect a lot of people out there that are going to be trying to build Spider-Man might actually have a hard time trying to get that one little part in. I can also see some pieces here in the center that are going to be a little bit difficult, but overall, this model looks really awesome. Let's go back here and take a look at our next one, which is the Boba Fett Starfighter. Now, this one looks really cool. We've built this one before, actually. There was a model that was available way back. It was actually, I think, in the second release of the Metal Earth models. I might be wrong on that, but it's actually a pure silver model. It looks really cool and was actually kind of hard to do with its little domes on each side and of course those little bits of detail around the back. But overall, it was a great model. This one here is definitely inspired in that way, and you can see that it has rethought a little bit some of the detail, but that color really does stand out. I mean, just look at that back. It's very cool. And I'm sure that all our friends out there that are really big into Boba Fett and love his original Slave One will be extremely excited for this particular build. Let's go back out to that main page. Now, Orthonac is a really cool one here. This is a Lord of the Rings model, and one that I think has been kind of in the back works for a long time. If you remember, I think it was about 3 years ago now, there was a convention that took place, and some of us realized in some of the reflections that we could see some really cool Lord of the Rings models. Also, there was kind of talks before of releasing different kinds of Lord of the Rings models, but they never came out for whatever reason, and instead we got those Legends models, which I know a lot of people weren't too happy about, but this particular model looks really awesome and is definitely something that a lot of us have been looking forward to. I know that might not be the case for the new Lord of the Rings series, however. Now, if we take a closer look at this one, we can see it's actually marked challenging as well, which is kind of interesting, especially given the fact that it's just a giant tower. But those little spiky bits there can definitely cause some trouble, especially if they're kind of laid flat and have to be inserted into some cylindrical pieces, which, just judging by this here, it looks like we might have some of that. Now, going back, we do know that we have the Quidditch pitch that was released a little while ago, and a lot of people have been releasing this one showing how cool it is. We'll take a quick little look at it as well, and we can see it really does have a whole bunch of really interesting details, and it doesn't look too complicated, especially with all those rectangular bits there. Now we've looked at Metal Earth, it's time to shuffle on over to our next area. This one here is going to be AliExpress. Now, here is where I like to kind of find some really interesting models that haven't really been shown too much. And for the ones I want to show off in this particular video are the ones that are really unique, and they have kind of an either electrical side to them or their color and design is just something that we haven't seen before. Let's take a closer look at these guys right here, for instance, and so you can see what I mean. Neat-O-Matic Enhance! That's pretty good. Now with these builds here, you can see that they have a variety of different kinds. Some of these have a cultural significance, and other ones just kind of blend a whole bunch of different ideas into one spot, but all of them look extremely neat and have a really cool detail aspect to them, especially this one here with all of its pools of color. I've also noticed some other modelers out there. This one here has some lighting kits adding to it, and I've been seeing a lot of models lately, especially on AliExpress, including some lights in there, which if you look at this one here, again, it looks super nice with the lighting, especially with this current picture that we can see. I think that these models look really awesome, and they're pretty simple to build just because they're basically a bunch of rectangles. But one thing to realize, the metal with these ones tends to be a little bit thinner, and that coloring can also wear out too. So if you're looking at getting one of these models, don't be surprised if you have that happen. Okay, let's move on to our next project. This is one that I've been dying to talk about on camera for a little while. This is the Ukrainian Dream from Metal Time. This project is really cool. Not only are we going to have a chance to build a really cool model here, but we're also going to have a chance to be able to take part in raising funds to rebuild the dream that was destroyed by the Russians in the beginning of their invasion. This is an absolutely amazing project, and to be totally honest, even right now, I'm not doing it justice. But if you're a plane fanatic, if you're a model builder, if somebody that wants to help support the Ukrainian people, this is definitely a project you want to take a look at. Our friends over at Metal Time and their engineers have done a fantastic job of capturing the Marionette aircraft with all of its unique details and of course its unique moving abilities. I mean, just look at these engines and how they work and all that gearing too. Now, one thing that's been a major problem with some of these moving 3D metal models is that the gearing can be a little bit tricky. But our friends over at Metal Time have done a great job with these models. And honestly, from seeing what they've done in the past with their 3D metal models and how those particular mechanics work, I'm really excited to see how this one is going to go together, especially with how big it is and the ability to be able to open up that front. It's just such a unique model, not just for aircraft enthusiasts, but also for collectors as well. This thing is absolutely huge. And the ability to be able to wind it up and see it go reminds me of some of the other 3D metal model planes we've seen out there as well. Now, if you're looking to invest in this project, you're going to get some really quality stuff as well. And if you've actually built Metal Time products, you kind of know what to expect here. They're going to give you all the tools. They're going to make sure that you have really good instructions as well. And then afterwards, you're not just going to have an understanding about how the aircraft works, but you're going to have a real understanding of what the history behind this aircraft is, which I think, unlike any other 3D metal model company, I think Metal Time really does that the best. You're not just building something, you're learning about something too, and joining a small community. Now, Metal Time with this Kickstarter is not just about the Ukrainian Dream. No, they have a whole bunch of other really cool models coming out too, including things like another plane called the Splashing Dreamer. Actually, they have a few planes and a couple of cool trains as well releasing. What again I really like about these Metal Time models is their intricacy and attention to detail. All of these models look really, really fantastic, and I have to touch on a couple of them, of course. Now, the one that I'm extremely excited for, there's actually a couple of them, but the ones that I'm really excited for, of course, has to be that really awesome UFO. I mean, that thing looks so cool, especially with how easy it looks to put together, but with that whole RGB lighting, the cow and those little aliens in there, I think this is easily going to be one of my favorite models from Metal Time. Let's take a look at their trains real quickly with something like the Polar Steel here. Another model that I'm extremely excited for. This one looks really, really cool. Not only do we have those intricate details along the front and that really awesome cylindrical center, but we also get a neat movement. Now, with other models that we have seen in trains, they've kind of been a little bit hit and miss if they actually work. Again, with our friends over at Metal Time, I'm extremely excited to see what they've done with their mechanisms to see if it works a lot better, and so I can put these two different companies head to head. Of course, those two different companies being Time for Machine and Metal Time. One for the ages, my friends, one for the ages. One last model that I'm extremely excited to see from this campaign is the Nimble Fighter. This is a tank from our friends over at Metal Time. And again, being able to compare these different tanks across different manufacturers and seeing how they tackle the movements is something that I really want to be able to do. And this little tank definitely looks capable, especially with those really unique looking tracks. I mean, look how they move there. Very neat indeed. Now, if you're interested in picking up these models, look no further than the Kickstarter campaign, which will be launching in just under 24 hours. Links in the description down below, and I definitely recommend taking a look through them. They got some really cool stuff coming out. And now we're on to wooden 3D models, starting with our friends over at Ugears. Ugears recently released some really interesting models. These ones are kind of fun, and of course, are all going to support the people in Ukraine. If you take a look at these ones here, we can see a Fire and Forget. We also have the centuries-old Battle of Freedom. We have the Neptune mission, and then we get into some more of their regular models. Now, what I love about Ugears, they've been in the game for a little while, and they definitely have some of their models down. I would actually kind of compare them to the kind of the metal earth, if you will, of the 3D metal model world, and they definitely have some really cool stuff available. I really like some of these new models, and of course their movement. They got some really cool movements in some of their models. Recently they released this really cool marble run, which a lot of people have been excited to see. It seems that the whole wooden community really likes these marble runs. Not judging at all. I just haven't built any of them yet, and I definitely want to check out that one right there. It looks kind of cool. And they're not the only company doing it. No, we got other ones doing it. Let's take a look at them as well. These are our friends over at Woodtrick. Now, we built a couple of models from Woodtrick, and these guys are kind of new to the game, but honestly, they have some really neat models that I think a lot of other wooden companies might be a little bit afraid to make. And their mechanical movements are really good. Like, I actually haven't had any problems with that rifle that I built not long ago, and I've been using that one in all kinds of YouTube videos since. So definitely a company I recommend checking out. Looking at theirs real quickly and what's new with them, they have a really cool Ocean Explorer yacht available, as well as 2 different robots. The Mars Rover, which seems that a lot of people have been building the Mars Rover. I think all of these, of course, have some kind of movement, of course, attributed to them, but some other ones I would like to take a look at here is that shooting range. That shooting range, I mean, $129 for the shooting range here, and again, we know that their whole like shooting mechanics inside of their pistols, and or at least out of the rifle that I checked out, we know it works well. So this can't be too bad. But looking at this one, we got some kind of robot over here. We got this really cool and interesting pistol. It kind of looks like their cyber pistol, which I'll show you in a moment here, but it's interesting. I wonder if this whole thing moves back and forth. Do we get a little video here? Oh, we do have a little video. Let's take a quick little look at this guy right here. There, yeah, so, okay, so we do get some really cool like robot movement, and the thing's gonna move back and forth on the track. Now, do I get to control that, or is it automatic? That's a good question. I like that track, and you can see there's some electronics involved in there too, so definitely some sensors, and those wooden bullets have made it back. Very cool stuff. So as you can see here, these guys definitely have their stuff down. That is actually really neat. And I'm assuming that whole $120 kind of price tag has to do with that whole robotic side of things. Very neat, and something I definitely want to check out from Woodtrick. But now that we've gotten Woodtrick out of the way, it's time for us to move on to our friends over at WoodWow. This is our last project that I want to mention in today's video, but definitely not the least. Now, this is the Kickstarter for this program, and if you saw my video originally about the whole WoodWow artillery tank, you know that this project is awesome. Not only do we have something that we can control with our phone or by a wooden controller, but we also have something that we can program. Yes, this thing is a fully fledged robot, and depending on what actual kit you get, it's depending on what you can tell it to do. You can have full-fledged robot wars, you can even do some really neat other stuff with it, but guys, the WoodWow people have really stepped up their game in terms of the whole wooden model stuff. I never thought that I would be controlling a wooden model in this way, and this was a project that, again, I'm not incentivized at all by them or by any of these people, by the way, but I can say that WoodWow has really surprised me with what they have, and I can't recommend them enough. If you haven't checked out this Kickstarter, definitely do. Links down in the description. And with that, we're at the end of our first episode of What's Groovin'? Hope you guys have enjoyed it, and if you have, let us know in the comments down below. What projects are you looking forward to? Is there something you want me to mention in the future? Just let me know down there. And also, press that like button. It helps me know that I'm doing something good. If you're new here, consider subscribing as well. We got all kinds of cool projects coming out in the future. Some of them we've mentioned here on the show here today, but having you there would make life so much better. All right, now I gotta go figure out what's gonna be the next project here on the show. There's actually this like lion thing, but also maybe a steampunk butterfly.